All right, here we go, guys. We're in chapter 20, 20 and 21, actually. We're going to do both of them today. Because why not? Because it's early on a Tuesday morning. So early. Why is it so early? Well, here's the problem with these days nowadays. You like that English? Is that we're staying up late because we can, because we don't have to go to school the next day. So unfortunately, that's what I'm doing. Are you guys doing the same thing? I mean, usually I'm in bed by 10, 11 o'clock. I'm in bed later nowadays. But I get up when the sun rises. Anybody else do that? And I even have foil and stuff on my window to stop that, and it still happens. But here I am, early morning, getting the stuff ready. Got your, looking at some of your posts for today. Zooming my team. So, good fun. So we're going to read The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. Again, I am allowed to read this story for Scholastic. Again, I'm allowed to read this story for Scholastic. Here is a beautiful picture of Edward. All right, so I'm going to move my kitty, since she's eating. We're going to move her over there, and I'm going to read from down here. Is that okay with you guys? All right, so I want you guys to make a prediction about what's going to happen in this chapter. Okay, remember Bryce at the end of the last chapter took Edward / Jangles away from Dad, kind of like ran away, kind of a thing, and off he goes. So I want to know what's going to happen next. All right, so make a quick prediction with yourself, parent, sibling, stuffed animal, whatever you'd like, about what's going to happen next. Go. Hey, Simba. I think that they're going to go on an adventure. Maybe go to a big city. Yeah, maybe to the circus. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Moving on. He's going to read with me because Simba is just amazing. How many dancing rabbits have you seen in your life? Bryce said to Edward. I can tell me how many I've seen. 1, 2, and that's how you and me are going to make some money. I seen it the last time I was in Memphis. Folks put on any kind of show right there in the street corner and people will pay for it. I see it. The people to town took all night. The walk to town took all night. Bryce walked without stopping, crying, and Edward under one arm, talking to him the whole time. Edward tried to listen, but the terrible scarecrow feeling had come back. The feeling that he was hanging by his ears in the old lady's garden. The feeling that nothing mattered. And not only did Edward feel hollow, he ached. Every part of his china body hurt. He ached for Sarah Ruth. He wanted her to hold him. He wanted to dance for her. And he did dance, but it was not for Sarah Ruth. Edward danced for strangers on a dirty street corner in Memphis. Bryce played his harmonica and moved Edward's strings. Edward bowed and shuffled and swayed and stopped to stare and point and laugh. People stopped to stare, point and laugh. On the ground in front of them was Sarah Ruth's box. The lid was open to encourage people to drop change inside. Mama, said a small child, look at that bunny, I want to touch him. He reached out his hand for Edward. No, said Mother, it's dirty. She pulled the child back away from Edward. That's nasty. A man wearing a hat stopped and stared at Edward and Bryce. It's a sin to dance, he said, and after a long pause, it's a particular sin for rabbits to dance. The man took off his hat and held over his heart. He stood and watched the boy and the rabbit for a long time, and finally he put his hat back on his head and walked away. The shadows lengthened. The sun became an orange, dusty ball in the blue sky. Bryce started to cry, and Edward saw his tears land on the pavement. An old woman leaning on a cane stepped up close to him. She stared at Edward with deep, dark eyes. Pellegrina? Thought the dancing rabbit. She nodded at him. Look at me, he said to her. His arms and legs jerked. Look at me, you got your wish. I've learned how to love, and it's a terrible thing. I'm broken, my heart is broken, help me. The old woman turned and hobbled away. Come back, thought Edward. Fix me. Bryce cried harder, and he made Edward dance faster, and finally, when the sun was gone and the streets were dark, Bryce stopped playing his harmonica. I'm done now, he said. He let Edward fall to the pavement. I ain't gonna cry no more. And Bryce wiped his nose and his eyes with the back of his hand. He picked up the button box and looked inside it. We got us enough money for something to eat. Come on, Jangles. Chapter 21. Ooh, I like that chapter. The dinner was called Neil's. The diner was called Neil's. The word was written in big red neon letters and flashed on and off. Inside, it was warm and bright and smelled like fried chicken. Bryce sat in the corner and put Edward on a stool next to him. "What you gonna have, sugar?" the waitress said to Bryce. "Give me some pancakes," said Bryce. "And some eggs. I want a steak. I want a big old steak and some toast. And coffee." The waitress leaned forward and pulled at one of Edward's ears and pushed backward so he could see his face. "This your rabbit?" she said to Bryce. "Yes, ma'am. He's mine now, and he belonged to my sister." Bryce wiped his nose with the back of his hand. "We're in show business, me and him." "Is that right?" said the waitress. She had a name tag on her front dress. Marlene, it said. She looked at Edward's face, and she let go of the ear and fell forward. And it fell forward so that his head rested against the counter once again. "Go ahead, Marlene," thought Edward. "Push me around. Do with me as you will. What does it matter? I'm broken. I'm all broken." The food came, and Bryce ate all of it without even looking up from his plate. "Well, you're hungry for sure," said Marlene as she cleared away the plates. I reckon show business is hard work." "Yes, ma'am," said Bryce. Marlene tucked the check under the coffee cup, and Bryce picked it up and looked at it and shook his head. "I ain't got enough," he said to Edward. "Ma'am," he said to Marlene, "I ain't got enough." "What, sugar?" "I ain't got enough money." "You're going to have to talk to Neil about that." Neil, it turned out, was both the owner and the cook. He was a large, red-haired, red-faced man. "You came in here hungry, right?" he said. "Yes, sir," said Bryce, and he wiped his nose with the back of his hand. "And you ordered some food, and I cooked it, and Marlene brought it to you, right?" I reckon," said Bryce. "You reckon?" said Neil, and he brought the spatula down on the countertop with a thwack. "I cooked for you," said Neil. "Yes, sir." He picked Edward up off the stool and held him close. Everyone in the diner had stopped eating. They were all staring at the boy and the rabbit and at Neil. Only Marlene looked away. "You ordered it, I cooked it, Marlene served it, you ate it. Now, I want my money." He tapped the spatula on the counter. You ever seen a rabbit dance?" he said. "How's that?" "Never before in your life seen a rabbit dance?" Bryce set Edward on the floor and started to pull his strings attached to his feet. Somebody laughed. Bryce took the harmonica out of his mouth and said, "He could dance some more if you want him to. He could dance to pay for what I ate." Neil stared at Bryce, and then without warning reached down and grabbed hold of Edward. "This is what I think of dancing rabbits!" And he swung Edward by his feet, swung him so that his head hit on the edge of the counter hard. There was a loud crack, and Bryce screamed, and the world, Edward's world, went black. All right. So I know, still getting a little sad there, but things are now changing a little bit, okay? So I want you to tell me, guys, what did Bryce do with Edward once they got to town? Again, what did Bryce do with Edward once he got to town? Okay? And I want you to kind of also move on to settings now, okay? Since the settings keep changing, the characters keep changing. So if there's any more characters or settings that are different than before, go ahead and write that down now as well. For example, the setting is now, characters are now, all right? Because Edward is no longer Edward, is he? I want you to write down his new name, who else is still in these two chapters, and where is it taking place, all right? And don't just write the old town or the town. We know more than that, all right? So tell me more about what's happening, all right, in this next chapter. We're going to be going on. We're almost done. Got about maybe 4 or 5 chapters left. So I'll see you guys next time.